Hey guys, it's Fabio and welcome back to another trader interview here of the Trader Interview series where I interview some of the most profitable and successful traders within my network. Today I'm here with Julian, who is a former Marine who walked away from his full-time job to go all in on trading. This year alone he has been doing extremely well with consistent prop firm payouts, over 10k in payouts in just the last 3 months, and he is up over 40R for this year. Julian, can you maybe introduce yourself to the audience, tell a bit more about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and what you are currently trading?
Thank you, Fabio. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. My name is Julian. I'm 27 years old. As you said, I'm a former Marine. Been in the Marines for around 6 years. And now I'm a full-time day trader since the start of this year. I've been trading for a couple of years, but actually this year has been the most serious. I've been doing it on a day-to-day basis on a very consistent way.
Fantastic. So since the beginning of this year, pretty much gone full-time into trading. Years before that was a long journey, like most of the people probably watching this have also experienced themselves, like being unprofitable. Let's talk about how you first of all got into trading before we go into how you became profitable. Where did trading for you start? Was it signal groups? Was it YouTube videos? Was it crypto trading? What was it for you?
Yeah. Crypto was the big bubble I came into first. Lost a lot of money, but yeah, that's the way how I went.
Yeah, it was for myself as well, to be honest. XRP
Okay, nice.
back in the days, 2017, I saw it go up all the way from, what was it, like 10, $20 cents, all the way up to $3. I was like, man, like I'm going to become a millionaire. And then it went down and I was like, okay, I need to learn how to make money on both sides of the market, not just buy and hold it as some kind of crypto coin, right?
Exactly that. I had a story from SafeMoon. I don't know if you can remember that.
Heard of that coin.
I had some SafeMoon, lost a lot of it, but also well, I was an early buyer, so that's a good thing. Made some money, lost more. So you want to create an edge, right?
Yeah, of course. No, fantastic. So that's how you kind of like got into trading and how you wanted to start making money. What was then kind of like the first strategies that you encountered? Because a lot of people that I speak to, like they start with like support and resistance, maybe price patterns or some ICT concepts. It takes them always pretty much 4 strategies before they come to the 5th strategy, which is then kind of like the final strategy. What does that journey look like for yourself?
Yeah, almost the same. I started with retail patterns from crypto traders, from which the bigger influencers from YouTube use, like bull pennants, bear flags, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's where I started. And I eventually lost a lot of money. So
yeah, I
found out that it didn't work.
Twitter as well. You have some of those guys on Twitter as well, like Crypto, who, for example, looks at like these big wedges and then he says like, it's time for a breakout. It's time for a breakout. And you start, I guess, drawing these things on your charts yourselves as well.
Yeah.
So obviously crypto is what got you into trading. Now, have there been any moments where you wanted to give up on trading? Because obviously you've been in the game for 5 years. It took you 4 years to become profitable. Was there any time in that 4 years that you thought about stopping trading?
Yeah. At least 100 times. Yeah, 100%.
And what kept you going?
The mentality, I think. It's also, my background as a Marine. You can't just stop with the first, the first big loss. You have to keep going, especially if you really want it. So, yeah.
And if you could go back then in time and give yourself some advice, what could you have done different then to maybe kind of like shorten the overall journey into becoming profitable? Because there's been obviously kind of like some aha moment in these 5 years at the beginning of this year that kind of came, which then eventually gave you those payouts. What would you give yourself as a piece of advice to, let's say, shorten the overall journey that you've experienced? What could you have done better? And what can the people watching this learn from your mistakes? Or I wouldn't call it like a mistake, but from your journey to make their journey kind of like shorter?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say get a mentor, get someone you can look up to, and use their edge for more inspiration and also for information. I think that's a really big thing. If you would try to do it yourself, you could do it. But look at me. I've done it in 5 years now. 4 years. I didn't throw it away, but I really did get some experience. But yeah, it could have gone so much faster, 100%.
But how do you then find a good mentor? Because I think that's the problem that a lot of people have, is that there's so much education out there. There's so much, let's say, different kind of like opinions, but also methodologies to approach the markets. How do you then find the right one for you? How did you find the right one?
Well, what I did was I looked at all the guys who were online and were actually doing it. But all those guys have different strategies. And that's also a common thing. If you reach out to one of the better traders online, they get on a call with you. And if you just explain your life to them, like you say, for example, for me, I'm a Marine, this is what I do, this is what I can do. Does your trading plan and how you trade and all the other things in the background, does it or could it connect to my life? Can I be profitable using your system? And I think that's the number one thing. For example, when I was at the Marines, I traded a 1 minute strategy. Yeah, it could work 100%. But yeah, imagine being busy doing your work and have to find your entries on the 1 minute time frame. It could be like this, and you lose your entry.
Yeah,
which makes you eventually take B setups and lose. So, yeah.
So now then you find that strategy. What does the actual strategy look like?
I look for market structure. That's the first thing. I want to know where price is moving based on market structure. In the structure, which is of course from weekly, daily working down, you have multiple and different kinds of supply and demand zones. Also liquidity concepts. And if all those concepts work together, you can get a clear picture of where price could move. And that's when probability comes in. And don't overtrade. And that's in a nutshell how it works.
And what pairs do you trade using this strategy?
Mostly NASDAQ, so not a pair, more an index. NASDAQ, sometimes gold, so GC1 on the futures market. And sometimes Forex pairs, but the higher probability setups. So I want to sweep major liquidity on higher time frame before executing any positions on Forex.
And is there a difference in timeframes that you use between the different instruments that you trade?
Yeah, NASDAQ and futures mostly on the 15 minute, trading the New York session.
Yeah.
Maybe the end of London. So that will be on the 15, and Forex can be 15 to the weekly even.
And what's the reason for that you trade the lower time frame on indices and then on Forex, for example, the higher time frame as well?
Yeah. If you trade, for example, NASDAQ, what you see a lot of times is that Asia just goes sideways. London manipulates the highs while Asia low is still open, and New York session eventually liquidates the lows of both sessions. And that's just like a pattern, right? So I mainly focus on that one based on the 15 minute, right? For NASDAQ. And that's just like a small edge for NASDAQ. That's how I do it.
And how long did it take for you to kind of like understand this overall approach?
3 months.
3 months. So after 3 months, you really had a clear understanding of how to approach it. And then from that moment onwards, it just worked for you.
Yeah.
And in that 3 months, how did you consume like the information of that happening? Was it mainly just through watching live streams, watching course videos, watching somebody else do it? Or did you really have to experience it yourself and lose money, for example, in order to start making money using this approach?
I think almost all points you mentioned I can relate to. But the most important thing is for me backtesting. And a really important thing is journaling your trades. That's the biggest thing I would say that got me the switch in getting profitable.
Yeah.
And working towards that, also the live streams and connecting with other people who are actually doing it and getting their expertise from how I should handle certain situations.
Okay, interesting. And do these people then also trade, for example, different instruments, indices and forex? Because most of the times you just see people only trading, for example, the futures market and trading indices, or only trading CFDs and trading the forex market. But you trade both. Like, why is that?
Yeah, I also trade crypto. It's
Oh,
like,
even crypto, even more.
yeah. But it depends. It's only the higher probability setups.
Yeah,
So I would say if you only trade, for example, Euro USD,
yeah,
you won't have A plus setups every day. But if you, how do you say it? If you widen your area of where you can
the
search
scope of
for
view.
your,
Yeah,
yeah, you have more A plus setups, but you
yeah,
still have to be very conservative when you lose. If you're in a losing streak, you can't keep going. So yeah, that makes it really actually easy to trade CFD futures and all these other kinds of markets.
but some people would disagree, I think, with that, right? Because also adding more pairs also in some way adds, let's say, more clutter and more distractions, making the overall trading harder. If you only trade Euro USD, for example, obviously you're going to get fewer A plus setups, but you also don't need to trade every day, right? Or do you tend to trade every single day?
No. I think my average trade per day in my journal says 3.2, I think. So not every day,
Yeah.
but almost every day. um, Sorry, can you say the question again?
So, so what is the reason that you trade multiple, like multiple pairs? Because some people would argue that it would be easier to trade just Euro USD and not have the clutter of trading crypto, trading indices, and trading forex as well. Because obviously now there's a lot going on. If you trade the lower time frame on indices and then the higher time frame on forex, you're going to be kind of like all over the place. Whereas if you just trade Euro USD on one single time frame, it tends to kind of like simplify things and in a way make it easier, I would
Yeah,
assume.
100%. 100% agree. But I think that's only when you're getting started. If you're getting started and start to learn the basics, you
Yeah.
really should keep it at 2, maybe 3 pairs.
Yeah.
And from my experience, use Forex. Don't go NASDAQ, gold, and that kind of stuff. 100%. But for me, I'm trading full time. I have 8 hours, I have more, 24 hours in a day, excluded my sleep, um, to just do some analysis, do fundamental analysis. I can really make a clear, how do you say it, a clear picture of what price of certain asset is doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes it actually possible for me.
Okay, great. Now let's talk about the success that you've had, because I understand indeed now what pairs you trade, the different instruments, and we kind of have a general brief overview of the strategy itself. In a second, we're going to also see a trade breakdown of yourself, kind of like see how you break a trade all the way from the higher down into the lower time frame where you also enter. But what's the actual success been with the strategy? Obviously, kind of at the beginning of the video, I already mentioned some payouts. What's that been like?
Yeah, it's how do I say it? The last 3.5, actually 4 months, have been crazy. 40R, so R is the thing you risk, right? So you risk 1, you win 2. It's a 1 to 2 risk to reward. So I made 40R in the last 4 months, and in payouts I got over 5 figures right now. So that's pretty amazing for me because I never saw those amounts of money. And in total, it were 4 payouts.
Great, man. And how do you now kind of like keep a cool head? Because obviously you've been in this trading game for such a long time. Now, finally, after all those years, you start to get, let's say, the first payouts. How do you then keep a cool head and not kind of like get hot that you want to make more? Because obviously you're going to try and make back all the money that you invested in the years before. But trading is about slow and consistent, right? So now it's just
100%.
all about getting those consistent payouts every single month. Like, how do you keep yourself kind of like cool and, hey, okay, I have a funded account. I'm not going to risk 2, maybe 3%. Because in addition to that, like how much do you actually risk on those funded accounts?
Yeah, it depends. I have a pretty special situation. I've been placed in the risk group from Alpha Capital Group. That means that you didn't follow certain rules. Mine weren't as dramatic as someone else. But the thing was, I scalped and day traded on a swing account, and that eventually got me in the risk group, which resulted in me only being able to risk 1% in total,
Yeah.
but also I can only use maximum of 10 lots, and my leverage also got reduced to 10. So, and that ended up in I was being able to risk 1%-ish on Forex pairs, but on NASDAQ, you can imagine that I was 0.3 to 0.5 because, it's a different kind of asset. So that resulted in a different percentage amount, but overall 1%, not more. That's what I would say.
Okay, great. Now let's dive into the setups themselves, man. Let's see trade breakdown. If you could share your screen and dive into a setup for us, that would be great.
So this is a NASDAQ setup. As what I said, mainly around London close, New York open. That's where I want to look for setups in combination with the session highs and session lows. So first of all, what do I do? Higher time frame. In this case, the 4-hour for me is enough because my entry will be on the 15-minute and only will be to maximum 2 through 3R. So 4-hour, you can see that we're swing bullish. We respect the high because we didn't close above it. And the thing you see over here, that's the fixed ranged volume profile. I always use those. And what I do is I put it on the last week. So you see it starts Monday 19th and it ends 26th of May. And this is Monday. I have a demand zone over here, which got fully liquidated below. And at the moment we are fractal bullish with this being the supply zone, which is relatively strong, which price is reacting from right now. Why is it strong? It's strong because a liquidation event happened over here. You can see it a little bit more clear on the 1 hour. You can see over here, liquidation event, and that's when the supply got formed. The buy candle before the sell down. After that, more liquidity highs got formed. After a new bearish break of structure on swing structure. So when price liquidates those highs, in combination with price coming into a stronger area of supply, the 4-hour supply and also the 1-hour supply, you have to stack them up on each other and just monitor price when it's coming in those areas. So then you go to the 15-minute, and then I want to see how the sessions look like. So every gray box is a session. First one over here is Asia. This is London. This is New York. But that's on a Friday. This is on Monday. This is our setup at the moment. So what happens? Price comes into supply. First step over here. I want to liquidate them. Liquidate the first step in supply because that's early sellers entering the market. So when price liquidates the high, only then I will be looking for shorts. But not only, I won't just be selling if price liquidates the high. I also want some more confluences. So first of all, my entry confirmation that price getting bearish makes a lower low. But also the volume, the fixed range volume profile. You can see over here, there are high volume nodes. The middle one with the gray thing in the middle, that's the point of control. That's where the most volume came in the market based on time and price, right? So the last week over the price. So what can you see? You can see that there are more high volume nodes. So when I look at my entry, because I want to enter over here if price liquidates the high and starts making bearish confirmation, I want to make sure that it happens in an area where volume is from the last week. And that's exactly what you saw, because we liquidate the high, and at that moment I'm interested for sells. We react from this area of volume from last week in combination with liquidity concepts, we top in a supply which is from the 4 hour strong. The 1 hour is also clear, and the 50 minutes could be also marked out, like over here. To make it a little bit more clear, I'll make it like this. And the only thing I want to do now is wait for my entry confirmation. So my entry confirmation would be right here. On the moment, we tap in supply once again and sweep this low. Another thing I do is when I look at the sessions, we understand that we want to look for shorts. The high got manipulated, and now we're looking to for this low to get it swept, to place a limit order, to then go short. But I got one more thing, and this is an oscillator. Because NASDAQ is so volatile, it moves with momentum. So at the moment, you see price getting higher highs, like this, right? So price is getting more expensive, but momentum, the blue waves, are getting lower. It's just like a weather forecast. So I won't use this as my confirmation, but more like an extra confluence would give me a little bit more confidence on the trade. So the only thing I want to do now is look, where is my target? Because you can choose. We sell from the break of fractal low towards target. Target would be Asia low. This would give me a 1.34R. I won't agree, or actually, I won't do it for that. I want at least 2R. Excuse me. And we enter after the break. Break is over here. And now we just want to get filled.
So you wait for the retest of the overall supply zone and then for the overall continuation in towards the downside, right?
Yeah, very, very simple if you understand the concept.
Fantastic.
Target liquidity.
And the overall continuation takes place. There was even an additional confirmation within that overall supply zone that was formed, right? Because you see another market structure shift happening inside of there. So if you are looking for extra confirmation, you could obviously also enter upon that low break over there. The RR would have been even better.
Yeah,
but a very, very beautiful trade with some nice,
I must say,
some nice entry confirmation.
If I look at NASDAQ, and especially when New York opens, it could give some really big impulses. So I would prefer a 2R with a wider stop loss at price or at where a really sweep happened, like over here.
Yeah.
Instead of internal liquidity. But that's mainly for the NASDAQ. I can imagine that the Forex pairs are, would be a higher probability.
Yeah.
Or actually a better R, if you take it like that.
Yeah, great trade. Regarding NASDAQ, like what tips would you give to other traders who trade NASDAQ as well, who are watching this?
Look at your journal. If you're profitable, keep going. If you're not profitable, go to Forex.
And what really made you kind of like become so successful with trading NASDAQ in itself? Because obviously it's a very different beast to Forex. I can imagine like a lot of people often have, for example, trouble with understanding the overall bias or the overall direction that they want to trade in. How do you approach that? Do you always just purely stick to the swing structure, or are there other ways that you form a bias? For example, looking at the volume?
Mostly lower time frames. And lower time frame, I mean not higher like the daily or the weekly. But that's more the fundamental side of the NASDAQ. It's pretty easy to spot if it wants to go up or down. It's really just risk on or risk off. Yeah. But if you really you want to form an edge, I think liquidity concepts on NASDAQ are really, really good to.
I saw you really identifying liquidity everywhere on NASDAQ. I think that's a very good point as well. However, what are the different ways that you identify liquidity?
Two variants, so resting liquidity and inducement. For example, resting liquidity is where liquidity hasn't been liquidated. For example, right over here. So this is the Asia low. This is resting liquidity. That's a liquidity point you can use as a target.
Yeah.
But also inducement. And inducements actually fuel for the move down, because we want to see liquidity get taken, for example, over here, which can act as inducement to eventually liquidate the resting liquidity.
Fantastic, man. Really great trade breakdown. Would you say that entry model has made a big difference in your trading overall? Because I think it really adds because look, the thing is, you have a massive supply zone, but when do you actually then enter indeed? Because there's so many different ways to enter. Like, do you then enter on, for example, a fib level? Do you then enter on a high of liquidity? Do you enter then on the market structure shift? Like, what has turned out to be the easiest way to enter the market for yourself?
Yeah, that's a very good one. I would say that at the moment you look, for example, at this one. You can do multiple things, right? You can, what you said, mark out the 0.5 fib. You can use ICT's optimal trade entries, 618, 65, like golden pocket zones. For me, what I mostly do is I always want to enter on the break.
Yeah.
Because that's just the safest, that you're getting an entry, but only if the risk to reward is positive. Positive at least 2R. You can see over here, it's 1.3. So right now, I would just fine tune it to the first area of interest. That will be the 0.5 and this 50% body candle above the break, right?
Yeah.
So this is the 50% body candle over here. You could enter on that one, but still the risk to reward is 1.8. Still not taking it. What I would then do is go a little bit higher. Now you could also identify this candle. It's like this. But over here we are around 2R, which also exactly lines up with the 0.5 of the structure. And yeah, like that. That's actually the way I would enter this one.
Amazing, man. And what's the average trade time of these trades on NASDAQ?
This one was entered on 1730, exits 0400.
But from
So,
like your
that's,
back testing or from your journaling, do you know what kind of like the average trade time is on those NASDAQ trades?
NASDAQ trades, yeah, day trades. Sometimes scalps. I've seen trades with one candle going to TP on the 50-minute chart. So it could be really fast, but also like this one, a couple of hours.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, obviously, all of this trading with technicals is very important, but most traders say that the hardest part isn't the strategy itself, it's the technicals. How did you develop the discipline and the mindset to actually follow your rules and become successful in trading? Obviously, you have a background in the Marines where I guess a lot of discipline comes from. But how have you been able to stay consistent this year and make a full-time income from trading?
Accountability. So I have a close group of friends, which also want to learn how to trade. And I just tell them every day what I see, what I think, and why I did certain things. And I think that's a big thing. Accountability partner.
Yeah.
Or actually partners, I can say.
And is there any big kind of like reoccurring, let's say, mindset problem that you see with beginner traders and that you can maybe identify in them and that you used to have it as well? And that maybe you can give then the people watching a tip on how to solve that?
Yeah, I would say overtrading. Overtrading is, in my opinion, the biggest one. So if you look at 1 week, like 5 trading days, if you have 10 trades in 1 week, and before entering all those trades, you know that you are unprofitable, you should change that. You shouldn't trade more, or actually you shouldn't lose more than 1 trade per day. That's my opinion. And also don't risk 0.3 and do it 3 times. Just 1R, 1 trade. That also will make, that what happens, you will look for the better setup because you know you can only take 1. Yeah, I think that's a big one.
Fantastic. Well, one more question actually, and that is, if you could go back to day 1, what would you tell Julian? And what should he know that you know now?
Keep going. I can remember that I doubted myself a lot, and also doubted the niche. Like, is this really it? Is trading the, how I say, the golden egg? But I don't think that's the mindset you have to be in the niche. You see it all around you. Not everyone is doing it, but a lot of people are showing that it's possible. So don't doubt the niche. Don't doubt yourself. Just keep going, and also invest in proper education. That's a really big thing.
Yeah. Well, great feedback, man. Well, Julian, I want to thank you so much for being on here today. I want to thank everybody at home watching this video as well. I think Julian is a perfect example of what really shows when dedication comes together with unlimited amount of consistency and hard work. I think it's a beautiful example, this trade breakdown, but also the whole strategy in itself of how you can combine different aspects of trading from massive parts of the strategy that I personally use, but then also combined with different parts that Julian has brought into the strategy himself as well to create something that works so well for him and has now been able or enabled him to stop his job and really take trading full time. So Julian, again, thank you so much for watching. Guys at home, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe on this video. Let us know in the comment section what questions you would like to see answered here in these trader interviews, and if you have any questions for Julian himself, let us know as well in the comment section down below. I'll make sure he gets back to those questions. And I think for everybody who trades NASDAQ, this was definitely an amazing trade breakdown. So again, guys, thank you so much and see you in the next one.